Okay, we are live once again. And this is going to be a real science experiment today. So let me go live on Amazon here. And I'm just going to get myself organized because I've got we're going to be doing like 2 streams at the same time to 4 different places. It's going to be very confusing for me. So I need to just get myself not so confused to start here to test this thing out appropriately. So, what are we doing today, pray tell? Well, we are going to play around with this thing called the Vidiu-X. And you see it right there on the desk. Now, I've got it upstairs because they sent me a cellular modem that connects to the side of it. And it gets obviously no signal down here in the basement. So what we're trying to do is see if we can coax any bandwidth out of that USB modem. I'm not hopeful about that because it is just just a bad signal area. But we're going to be able to test how this thing works anyhow. So we're going to figure this all out. Yes. So I'll take a couple of questions before we get started here. Like I said, this is going to be a very confusing one for me. Yes, I am back from snowy Vermont. You're going to see the video tonight. I actually went up and down in like one day. We were there for less than 8 hours, so it was good stuff. Hello, Mixmeister. And Dennis Black, thank you. I'm glad you liked the vMix thing. I thought it would be helpful. I knew it wasn't going to do all that well from like a viewership standpoint, at least initially. But over time, those videos really do actually get a lot of traffic. And it's going to be a little more production heavy this week because I've got this thing that we're going to play around with. And hello, Romeric. Good to see you again. So yeah, so what we're going to do is, and I'm breaking out because I had a mask on a lot of the time I was up there. So I've got like pimples all over my, all over my face where the mask was. All right, so what I'm going to do here, so what are we looking at first? Well, this is the Vidiu-X. And you might be asking, what do you need something like this for if everything that you're streaming with these days will stream for you automatically? And the answer to that question is that you probably want to look at something like this if you're streaming remotely. And the reason why is that this box can accommodate, and I'll show you the control panel that it has here in a second. This box can accommodate essentially 3 different, and I'll put this full size here so you can see what we're looking at here. It can accommodate 3 different network connections. So right now, it's connected to my Ethernet, and then it's also connected to the cellular modem that they let us borrow. And this whole thing is on loan, by the way. And what it will do, if you go over here to System, I think it's System or Streaming, one of these things here. I'm still figuring this thing out. What it will do, hang on, what was I looking at? Here we go. What it will do is it will split the connection as best it can. Now, right now, the cellular modem gets maybe, if it's lucky, maybe half a megabit per second, but it does bond connections together. And so what I'm going to be doing in a second is connecting it to my Wi-Fi, which is on so I have 2 networks here in the house. I've got 2 internet connections. I've got the main one from Comcast, and the fiber thing that they sent me actually has 2 different connections out. So we're going to connect this Vidiu to both of my Comcast networks. And so it will basically split the load, and you'll see it happen in real time when it does that. And so you're able to bond 3 different connections together. So when you're out in the field, you could have, like we've got up here right now, I'll show it to you again. On the right-hand side there, it might be hard to see, but we have, and I can tilt the camera here a little bit, I've got this cellular modem here. Isn't this cool, this PTZ camera I've got up there? So I've got this cellular modem on there right now that they let me borrow. So it's splitting the signal. If we had a better connection to the cellular network, we'd be getting basically a split signal. And then should one of those connections goes down, it rebalances everything. And you'll see that. We're going to test that here in a minute, because what I want to do, and that display, if I get it out of whack here, it takes a minute for it to get back into focus. Let me tilt it down a little bit. See how it syncs up? It's one of these OLED displays, so the refresh rate is it's not quite in sync with the camera refresh rate. So it's pretty cool how this works. So if we go back to the control panel, we'll take a look at how that works. And I've got some more people to say hello to also, so let's do that real quick. Dave Ramroop is here from Trinidad. Hello. Redacted is here. John Richardson wants to know, is this battery powered? No, so this one is not. The Vidiu-Go is, I believe. But this one requires power, but it's USB-C power. So you might be able to run it off a battery if you've got one of those stronger batteries that you can connect to it. Keith McDermott is here, and B. Tabalba is here as well. Hello, guys and gals. I don't know if there's any gals here, but there's a bunch of guys popping in. So yeah, so right now it's connected to two network connections, the cellular and the Ethernet here at the house. And then what we're going to do is I am currently broadcasting this feed from my vMix system over NDI into a bird dog box, which is then circulating back out into this thing. So you can see here how it's basically putting most of the traffic out on the Ethernet, but it's doing about 0.5 megabit right now on the USB modem. And so what I'm going to do here is go back over to the setup screen, and I'm going to go to network, and on the Wi-Fi here I can attach my Wi-Fi. But before I do that, what I want to do is go live on our two sources. So I'm going to start recording some B-roll here, I think. Give me a second here, folks. So this works a lot, like almost identically to their Vidiu-Go, but it doesn't use their more advanced core service. So I think it's taking whatever you send it and then just pushing it back out again. But you can send to multiple places. So you can see that I've got my extras channel and the Facebook group set to go automatically. So what will happen here is when I go and start the stream, this will begin broadcasting out to my extras channel from their server. And then I'll do the same here on the Facebook group. And so now I think both of these should be transmitting. Yes, we're live on that. And let me just check and see if we've got a signal. Yeah, so here is my extras channel. And I'm just doing this one privately. And then Facebook has got it also to the Facebook group. So I'm going to go live here to my Facebook group. And the quality doesn't look all that great, but I think it's just sending me like a preview image. So I'm going to say go live. And we're going to check and see if this shows up in the Facebook group. Because like I said, there's some layers to this production that I'm doing right now, which is going to be very confusing to me. So I'm going to go back to my Facebook group here and just make sure it shows up where it's supposed to, because I have access to a lot of different things here, and I'm not seeing it as a post on the Facebook group. Let me go back to the homepage. There it is. Okay, good. So now we are up on the Facebook group. Perfect. Okay, so, and I'm not going to be able to monitor this in a bunch of different places, so we'll have to just figure this out. So here we are on the Facebook group. And that looks pretty good. So this is coming out of this box, it's going up to that sharing thing, and then it's going out to the Facebook group. That's basically how it's going. And yes, Lon.TV Facebook group, that's where it's going. Okay, so we got that working. So now, all right, so now I got that figured out. So now we are broadcasting in two different places. And now what I want to do is go back. So here just to tell you what's happening here. I am sending a video right now up to the box upstairs, this box. This box is sending a single stream to Teradek's cloud server. And then Teradek's cloud server is broadcasting this out to both my extras channel and the Facebook group. And so that's working as it's supposed to work. So now, keep an eye on this right here, because you can see right now we're pushing most of the traffic over the wired connection. And what I want to do now is connect my Wi-Fi up to it, because I have a second internet connection here at the house on that Wi-Fi. So I'm going to go over here to the Wi-Fi settings. And what I can do is do a Wi-Fi scan. And that's going to find all of the networks on my Wi-Fi here. And I'm going to connect to the Netgear router that's on my second internet connection. And what I'm going to do now is just type in the password for that connection. And let me paste that in here. Okay, so now I'm going to click connect. Now watch what's going to happen. It's going to hopefully get connected here. And you'll see that light up green in a second, I would assume. It's yellow at the moment. There it goes. Okay, so now it's green. So now, if I go back to the Vidiu screen here, check it out. It is now kind of splitting the load here between the Wi-Fi, the USB modem, and the wired connection. So you can see how it's split everything up. And I will go back and check the recording in a little bit. I don't expect there to be any downtime here as we lose connections. So if you don't mind watching on the Facebook group and letting me know, that would be really helpful. So let me go back to the Facebook group and see how it's going here. Somebody said that the Facebook one is ahead of YouTube, but I wouldn't be surprised about that, to be honest. So that would not surprise me. Okay, so I should start broadcasting to the Facebook group. I've been thinking about that. It's just, the problem is I have to check in so many different places, so that's been kind of the hard part. All right, so where is my stream health? Yeah, so the Facebook stream health here looks good. So let me pull that up real quick here. And so we haven't had any downtime there at all. That's been going nonstop. Perfect. All right, I'm going to grab that real quick. Okay, so Amir is watching me on Facebook. And I am getting a warning that I'm sending too high a resolution. And I'm going to need to look into this to see if there's a way to turn that down. Sometimes Facebook, like, they will just shut you off if they don't like what you're sending them. Okay, so now we'll check the extras channel. And that's been going just fine. Okay. All right, so that's good. So now what I want to do is we're going to kill the Wi-Fi connection. That's the next step. And let me check and see if any of you have commented here or not. All right. Got a bunch of comments here. Let's see if I can catch up on these. So John Richardson says, so this is more reliable bandwidth rather. Yeah, so here's what it is that, like, if you were, let's say you were at a hotel, and John, I know you do this for a living, so you probably find yourself in this situation a lot. You're at a, your client calls you and says, hey, I'm going to be at this hotel, they got Wi-Fi, it's all good. So you go to the hotel and the Wi-Fi stinks, right? Or it's like up and down. So what you do is you plug like a LTE or a 5G or whatever modem into the side of this thing. So you can see right now it's got that modem hanging off the right-hand side. It's just not getting a lot of bandwidth because of where I'm physically located. So you plug the modem into that, you plug the Ethernet in if they have it there, and then you plug something else into the Wi-Fi. So now you've got 3 bonded connections, or 1 bonded connection going through 3 different physical connections. And so if you lose one or one happens to dip or something, the other 2 can pick up the slack. And so what you'll see here in a second, let me pull the screen back up for you so you can get a feel for it. So right now, you can see that it's splitting the connection here between the wired connection, and the Wi-Fi. So we're doing a 5 megabit per second upstream, but it's split between the two. So that's what's going on there. Now I just want to check and see if Facebook is still upset with us because we're sending too high a resolution for them and they don't like that. But it looks like we're still okay here. The alert went away. So I'm going to keep sending here and see what happens. They want 720p and not 1080p for some reason, but whichever. Okay. So now, I think what I might do is I think I'm going to kill power to the router in there because I have nothing else connected to it. So I'm going to go into the room there and just unplug the modem and see what happens, or the router. All right, so let me go into the room next door, and we're just going to kill it. All right, so I'm in the closet here, and I'm going to pull the plug on the Wi-Fi. So the Wi-Fi just dropped unexpectedly. Oh my goodness, we lost Wi-Fi. What are we going to do, right? This happens. But look what it did. It shifts it over. And if we go now back to here, you can see nothing dropped off. And I'll have to watch the recording and just make sure that we didn't lose anything in the midst of it, but it just picks it right back up again. So that's kind of what this does. And so now what I'm going to do is go back in and plug the router back in and let it boot up again. And then once the Vidiu finds it, it's going to pick up again where it left off. If I can figure out where to plug this thing in. And that's what's great about having this extra connection here is that I can just do this. Because I was going to have to go drive somewhere where I could get like better cellular connection signals. But, you know, so you can see now. So I just plugged that other, the Wi-Fi back in. It's going to take it a minute, I think, for it to come back up. I'm assuming it's going to reconnect automatically, but let me check on that and see. Okay, so the Wi-Fi's out. But let's see if it reconnects. And I'm waiting on it. Let's see. We might have to force a reconnection, but that router's got to reboot too, so. But you can see how this works. I mean, this is designed to, you know, basically maintain the connection. Even if you have 3 semi-reliable connections, one of them is bound to work. And that's kind of the gist of it. And then you don't get much of an indicator on the device itself. I am seeing it, so it is giving me like a cellular signal, but I don't think that meter is accurate because I'm just not getting any bandwidth out of that 4G modem on there. So it looks like I may have to physically reconnect the Wi-Fi. It is not coming back up, but let me check. I'm just checking to see if it's back on my list. So it hasn't come back on yet. I'm just wondering if it automatically reconnects to the Wi-Fi. So we'll see if that happens in a second here. So watch this space. Let's see what happens. Yeah, this thing is not expensive. Well, I'm sorry. I take that back. The device is expensive. It is more than, I think it actually costs about the same as the, okay, so we got some confusion here. Let me try to help everybody out here with this. Okay, so what am I looking at? I am looking at, let me pull this back up here. I was looking at this screen here. So I'm just trying to see if this Wi-Fi is going to come back up automatically. Okay, oh, it did reconnect. Okay, so it reconnected, and we should see this light up green in a second, I would imagine, because we plugged it back in. And so I think once it gets itself rebooted, it should start contributing again to the network. So basically we're streaming out, we're not streaming out to Amazon and YouTube right now through this, but I am streaming to a private YouTube channel and the Facebook group through the Vidiu and its service. And I'll talk about the service offerings that they have in a minute. All right, so it says it's connected, but no uplink. So let me go back to here. Yeah, so right now it just has those two connections, because the Wi-Fi should be up by now. It looks like we're getting another snowstorm tomorrow, so they're already closing school. It's going to be one of those long days tomorrow. Maybe I'll do a live stream and you can watch the snowfall outside. Would you all like that? All right, so let me just reconnect it manually here. All right, so I got to type the password in again. I'm surprised I didn't remember the password. All right, so now it's reconnecting. Now, granted, my stream is still going on as I'm trying to struggle with all this because, okay, there we go. So now it's back up. And now, if we go back to our thing here, you will see the Wi-Fi will slowly start picking up the slack here and split the connection. And we're back up. And we had no interruption to the stream throughout all of this. And likewise, I could pull the Ethernet out of the back of that thing and it would continue going here. So who's this for? Well, this is for somebody who is streaming live to multiple locations. You have limited bandwidth, or you're not sure about the bandwidth you've got available to you. And so this is something that you would use in that scenario. So you have, and I'll kind of back up here and just tell you exactly what's going on the screen here. So we have, and let me take it right from the top so you get a good idea as to what's going on. We've got the box here. This is the Vidiu-X. This is a new product from Teradek. They loaned it to us. And right now, I am sending, and this is upstairs at my house right now because I was trying to get a good signal for the cellular modem that's hanging off the side of it. So I am sending video from my basement to the upstairs room there over NDI. Long story, we'll get to that in a minute. And so basically, there's HDMI going into this box. And this box is currently streaming things out to Facebook and my other YouTube channel as a private stream. And what it's doing is sending the video to an intermediate server first. And that server is run by Teradek. It's called ShareLink. This is the service that accompanies the device. And I'll talk about the service price in a minute. And so what it does is it bonds the three connections that you can plug into this thing together. So what we did as a demo a minute ago was we unplugged the router for the Wi-Fi that it was connecting to. And then what it did is it just moved the load over to the other two connections. And it was smart enough to know that it didn't have much on the cellular connection, so it put more of it on the Ethernet connection that it was on, okay? So this is helpful because if you're doing a live stream out mobile somewhere and you've got, again, lousy Wi-Fi or some lousy internet connection with Ethernet or whatever, you can balance the load out a bit so you don't lose your connection. And so the ShareLink service that you're transmitting to, which is what we're doing right now, we are transmitting from this box to ShareLink, and then ShareLink is sending it out. So you could have multiple destinations going. Right now I just have two, but I could keep adding them to the bottom of the list here. You can kind of go on and on and on forever with it. And that's pretty much it. So then if you lose a connection, or if the cellular goes down for a few minutes, or maybe there's a bit of a blip in the connectivity, the other portions of the connection will take up the slack. And it generally works, I think, pretty well. I've tested this before with their Vidiu Go product with a more complex server that they have you connect to. This is the simpler of the two. And it's expensive. It's $700. And you don't really need it if you've got a reliable connection already. But I think if you're doing stuff on the road, out in the field, this might be more useful because you have the ability to have basically some redundant connectivity that you don't have to manage. It just does it for you. So let me show you the way the pricing works on the service. And hang on a second here, folks. I'm just getting a message from Jake. Okay. All right, give me 1 second. I've got to just put something outside. So talk amongst yourselves for a second because Jake is coming to do a swap of stuff. So I'm going to leave this outside for him. So give me 1 second, everybody. Okay. All right, we are good. Let me send him a message and let him know. All right. Okay. So, pricing. So this is how it works. You gotta buy the device for $700, and yes, you could buy a ATEM Mini Pro for that, which would do the streaming for you. So you got to figure out if you really need this or not. Okay. The value of it is the bonding service that it connects to. That's really the value here, I think, because it gives you a redundant connection. So what do they charge you? So if you go on demand, it is $2 a gigabyte upstream. And they have a calculator, which I'll show you in a minute. But you can figure out, like, based on your bit rate and how many places you're connecting to, how much that's going to cost you, right? So, for example, the stream I'm doing right now, if I go for an hour at 5 megabits per second, I don't know, do the math on it, but you can figure it out. Honestly, you'll spend a couple of bucks. You know, if you're doing a stream a week or something, you know, a couple bucks a week. Then they've got like some prepaid plans, and that gives you a certain amount of transfer that you can use. And so you got to figure out how much you're using and whether, you know, where's the value proposition. I got to do the math on this before I do the video. But I think for a lot of like occasional streamers, this is fine, right? You pay $2 a gigabyte and you're done. And it's only on the outbound. Now remember, every time you add another service, you're paying additional data rates, right? So if it's 5 megabits to YouTube, and I'm doing another 5 megabits to Facebook, and another 5 megabits to, you know, whoever, now you've got 15 megabits per second that you've got to do the calculations on. So you just have to kind of do the math on this and figure it out. They do have, and I'll get to some questions in a minute, because I just want to let this thing stream so I have a recording that I can reference after we're done. And I think they have a calculator somewhere. Let me find it real quick. Yeah, calculate your monthly usage. Okay, so let me show you how this would work. So let's say we did 8 streams a month. I'll just take their example. And let's do like the 720p example, so 2.5 megabits per second. And then let's say we're doing it to 3 destinations, and we go for an hour at a time. And it would say, you know, you're going to use about 27 gigs of transfer, right? So if we were to look at, again, it's $2 a gigabyte, right? I think that's what they charged. So 27 times 2 would be $54 if you were to just pay the per usage fee. Here you would be paying $25 a month, and you'd fit within the, I think, 50 gigabytes they allocate under that monthly plan. So you just got to kind of do the math on it and figure out what you're doing. And again, this is for, you know, folks that have to make sure their connection's always working. So that's kind of the scoop here. But I think it's working pretty well. I'm just monitoring it. I just want to let it stream for a while. And like I said, we're splitting the duty right now between my main fiber connection here and the secondary fiber connection that Comcast has for me. That's that expensive internet that I'm paying for. All right. So let me go through some questions here. So who legitimately needs this? And this is actually good feedback because I think that's going to be an important factor. I've been using these Teradek boxes for a while. I haven't been using them within my production environment, mainly because for the most part now, so this wasn't the case like 5 or 6 years ago, but for the most part now, just about anything that you're doing live production with has the streaming capability built in. So why would you need this? You would need this if if your connections are not all that reliable. That's why you need it. If you are doing this out in the field, if you want to make sure this is going to work, again, multiple bonded connections. Jason says, happy Monday, folks. Cedar Lake says, any suggestions for streaming from a phone remote with titles and lower thirds overlaid? Maybe vMix or vMix Call. Yeah, actually, Teradek has an app. I think they still have it. It's an app for your phone, and it's called, I think it's called Live Air Action. Go on the App Store and look for, I'll look it on my phone right now. Because they changed the name of stuff. But it's like a little studio that you can like put into your phone. You look for Air Mix Solo. That's what you want to look for. Let me pull it up on screen here. And so this runs on the phone, and it's like a little mini, I haven't used it in a long time. I got to take a look at it again. But it's like a mini little vMix setup for your phone. Air Mix Solo. And of course, there's in-app purchases to get different features, but you can kind of play around with it and see if it works. And then I'm pretty sure the app works with these Teradek boxes, and you can bring in sources that way. It's kind of neat. So Myriad asks, do you think the modem's function could be a fail-safe for the device to actually function and get in more bandwidth when the rest fails? The way it works, because I remember looking at this on some of their other devices, is that it always tries to equally balance the load between all three. So tomorrow, you know what I may do, because I'm going to go get a COVID test tomorrow. So maybe when I run out, I will test it down at my dad's place and see if it balances the load out. He's got a much better connection to the cell towers where he is, and I'll double check that. But I'm pretty sure that, and by the way, I'm not sick. So I just was at my brother's place, and whenever I go and see people, even with the mask on, I go get tested a couple days afterwards. So maybe tomorrow or Wednesday I'm getting tested. So I'll do another run with that. But no, I think what's happening here is that I'm just not getting a very good signal. So it's not able to push that much out. But it is putting some of the load on that cellular connection. So that's how it should work. John Bailey, yeah, this is a great use for it. So anyone who does remotes, right? So if you're out at CES or something like I am, and the signals are horrible, signal is terrible. Remember, if you all have been watching me for a while, we did a live stream from, I got these things on the desk I'm just playing with. We did a live stream from my phone from CES, and it kept dropping because the cellular connection was not able to stay on, right? So that's how that works best. Red Hornet is here. Hello. No, actually, Snake, the way mine is configured, so I have this Comcast Gigabit Pro service. And so what it does is it brings in two distinct external IP addresses. So I actually have two physical connections out to the Comcast network that are completely separate from each other. So the Wi-Fi is actually going through the second network. Mark works 8 to 5 and he just fell asleep inside an empty office. At least he can get away with it. Yeah, I'm going to be building snowmen tomorrow, no doubt. So we'll see what happens. And what's funny, Snake, is that so the second router they give you, this is hysterical because, and I can show you on my phone here. Let me make sure I'm not missing any Amazon comments here first. Oh, I missed a couple of things here. I'll get to your question in a second. On Amazon, Sriracha says, I met the Teradek guys years ago when they first started, when they were broadcasting from the Santa Monica Pier. Yeah, they're good stuff. They make good products. I mean, they've been really good about this video transmission stuff. And I like the cost factor for these Vidiu products, because I think for people like me, if I was doing more remote stuff, it would definitely be appealing. And actually, I was considering getting the Vidiu Go when I was having a lot of those upstream bandwidth problems, because I could have had it connect to Verizon. I can do about 2 megabits upstream, so I would have just enough bandwidth to keep the connection on when my old Comcast connection was going to go out. Amazon customer is wondering, does it stream to YouTube in stereo? Yes, if you're putting stereo out, it will stream stereo out there. So let me show you. There's such a mess in there. I'm just going to explain to you what they sent me. So the Netgear router that they give you as part of this Gigabit Pro thing is just like your standard off-the-shelf Netgear router. And so they bring in, for the fiber connection, this big iron Juniper. I mean, this is something you'd find in the data center of a university, giving access to the whole campus. It's in my basement right next to me. And so they hook that thing up. They hook it up to fiber. I've got, it's firing lasers 5 miles up the road to the Comcast head end. And then they give you this Netgear router to hook up to it. I think it's hysterical. But I just got, actually, I'll show you what I just got, because a friend of mine in town, we should get him on the channel one of these days. Where did it go? Oh, here they are. I just got the deal of the century from him, because he's renovating his house. He's the other guy in town that has Gigabit Pro, like me. And so he sold me, look what he sold me for, I got a great deal on this. This is the Unify US16XG. And this is like one of these backbone switches. So these are all 10 gig Ethernet switches on here, or ports. And then these are all 10 gig SFP plus connectors. So this is going to be the backbone of my local network. And so all my 10 gig stuff I'm going to connect to here. And then I'm going to interconnect all the other switches on my network. So I've got a nice 10 gigabit backbone. And what's cool about this is that the backplane speed of this thing is fast enough to basically give me full bandwidth on every port. So this is going to be a nice upgrade. I haven't had any bottlenecks with the network yet, but I'm pushing a lot of NDI video. And right now, for example, I can show you how much NDI I'm pushing over the network, I think. Let's take a look. I'll just tell you. Yeah, so I'm doing about, including the stream out, I'm doing right now about 400 megabits per second on the network, just moving video around. So I'm sending video upstairs to broadcast out through the Vidiu, and then I've got this stream coming back down from upstairs. So there's a lot of stuff going on the network. So it's actually, even for a little production like mine, you could saturate your network. So this will help with that. And then the other thing he had, okay, I got a great deal on it. Brand new. This is the security gateway. So this is a router essentially. And so I'm going to replace the Netgear router in there with this, because then I can manage everything centrally. So that's the plan. So this will be managing the second connection. And what I'm going to do is I've been playing around with reverse proxies. So I'm going to put a Synology NAS on a reverse proxy for file transfers, because I'm often sending, I could do some consulting work. I make videos for Kensington and a few other folks, and so I wanted to, I've been putting stuff on AWS. I like to just host it myself. So I'm going to set up, because then I could leave the files there forever and I have to pay to host it. So that's what I'm going to be doing with the security gateway. So I have a fun little network project coming up. So that's what we're doing. Mark Dell says the snow is provided free of charge. Yeah, we got like 10 inches of snow not yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yes, yesterday. It snowed all day yesterday. So we got like 10 inches of snow, and then we're getting another 4 or 5 tomorrow. So we're getting a good amount. And it's funny. So my 7-year-old, we're going to do a video together, I think, because we were talking in the car today on the way to school. Will Thompson wants to know on Amazon, am I real? I am real. I hope so. Look at me, I look real. I'm blemished from the mask I was wearing at my brother's place. Look at, like, I got pimples all over the place. We were driving to school today, and my daughter was asking about the video games I played as a kid, because she's getting into, she loves Animal Crossing. We spend a lot of time playing Animal Crossing together. So we're going to, I think she's up for it. I'm going to do a video where I show her all the games that I played when I was her age, when I was 7. Because she's starting to, like, I was really, like, I think was when I was around 6 or 7 was when I really started getting computers and all this stuff. Like I did a computer thing. This is how long ago it goes, all right? So I was in kindergarten in 1981. And so I remember all this stuff. Between kindergarten and first grade, there was like a summer camp at the local daycare center that they would do. And they had a computer camp that ran for a little bit. I couldn't really read yet. I was in between kindergarten and first grade. I knew my letters and, a little bit, but they didn't teach you how to read in kindergarten like they do today. So I was the youngest kid in the class. We were doing logo and sprites on Texas Instrument computers. And I loved it. And so that was like my first real exposure to doing something on a computer like that. And then I remember, I'll never forget this, I was in first grade, and somehow they knew that I knew how to do something on the computer, and the school had bought Apple IIe's for like every classroom and the school library, and nobody knew what to do with these things. And so I remember this, they pulled me out of class. I was in first grade. They pulled me out of class, and they brought me down to the librarian, the school librarian, and she had the Apple version of Logo. Now, I had done it on the Texas Instruments, but the commands are the same. And Logo, by the way, is this little triangle on screen, and you issue commands, and it draws lines. That's what it does. And it's a kind of an introduction to programming. So I went down there, I'm like, oh, I know that's the turtle, and you do this, and I started doing stuff on the computer, and da-da-da-da. So from then on, I was like the 7-year-old computer consultant for the school. And it was fun, but that was kind of the start of all this. And so my father had, when I was, and it's funny, I have these weird memories. When I was 2 years old, because it was before my sister was born, my father had to get the Atari 2600. And we were in the car. I remember falling asleep in the car and waking up in like some strange parking lot with my mom in the car with me. My father was in the store called Caldor's, which was a very well-known department store in this area. And he went out and got an Atari 2600. And I remember him like coming down in the middle of the night with him playing bowling on it. So we had a 2600, and then when I was my daughter's age, we got the ColecoVision. That was awesome. Sorry, I'm just thinking about this thing. So Mark Dell wants to know, do I have to leave food outside to feed Jake? No. I think I gave him a granola bar yesterday. Speaking of which, I think he left his sandwich in my brother's refrigerator yesterday. Yeah, so I think that the stream is still going. Let's check. Facebook is still getting it, right? Yep. Good. Yeah, that's still working. And it's really very little latency to it also. I think it's pretty, I think it's going pretty good here. Yeah, it's been running at a constant 5 megabits per second. We're not seeing any drop off. I wonder if I could download a report. That'd be kind of cool if it gave me that. Yeah, it doesn't like the resolution that I'm sending it though, so that's the only downside to it on the Facebook side. And I have to check with them about whether or not you can change resolutions. And YouTube has been healthy all along here too. Give me a second here. I'm just going to record a little bit more B-roll for the video. Let me get rid of, I love you, Mark, but we got to take you off the screen for a minute here. There we go. So that's the YouTube report, and this is the Facebook report. So it's been pretty constant here. So it was good. We lost connection, and it stayed up. That's the whole point. Amazon customer says, we are sending a stereo signal from protocols to our ATEM switcher and then to a YOLO box, but I found it sums, oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this supports stereo because if you look at this screen here, this is a question that came in from Amazon. You can see that we've got 2 channels of audio. Now, I'm only sending mono, but there's definitely 2 channels here, distinct channels that it's sending out. So I think you should be in good shape there. Yes, so there's some discussion about the official food of Connecticut, which is pizza. And this has become quite controversial, but I will say, and I've been to the pizza in New Haven, Connecticut on Worcester Street is to die for, literally. I mean, it is just it's delicious. There's Pepe's Pizza, and there is also Sally's Pizza. It's like the Yankees and the Red Sox. They're right next to each other. And I guess as the lore goes, Pepe's and Sally's are from the same family, but they had some split way back when, and they went off and started their own pizza restaurants. But yeah, pizza is a very big deal. And New Haven, Connecticut, which is the home of Yale University, they claim to be, I don't think they are claiming they invented pizza. I think they're claiming that they have the best pizza. But the hamburger is credited with New Haven, Connecticut. And there's a place called Lewis's Lunch that is the place in which they made the first hamburger. And they do these steamed hamburgers, and they make them in the same, they cook them in the same things that they were making them in 100 years ago or more than 100 years ago, like back in the 1800s. So that's that. Red Hornet says that the original VDU was deemed almost unusable because they demanded a secure stream only. I was not aware of that. Yeah, and I think what Teradek, and they're kind of smart to do this because they're moving more into a hardware plus services role here with the ShareLink service. You know, and part of me would love to just have the ability to just bond in, you know, from my own stuff. So I think this is where they pivoted, which is having a service layer. They have a much more advanced service called Core. And I need to check with them to see if this works with Core, but I don't think it does. I think it just works with ShareLink. So this is like the consumer offering. And it's simple. You saw what I did. I pulled the cable out of the router, and it just kept going. So that's kind of the gist of it there. I don't do a lot of Facebook streaming, obviously. So I'll have to check on that. And Red Hornet says, I need a SpaceX hack. I got this from SpaceX, by the way, full disclosure. I was at one of their launches. You can see I go to SpaceX launches every once in a while, and NASA launches too. So you can check that out. So Snake says, why not get a good connection home call? Yeah, so for me, this is not something I need right now because I have a good connection. But if you're always somewhere else, as Greg M points out here, you need a better spot, right? John says, will they let you sleep when you don't use it? I think so. I think it's a month-to-month thing. So that could work. So there you go. Check it out, though. I'm pretty sure there's no contract with that, but you probably pay for the month, and then you got a month until the next billing cycle. Thomas says, I really enjoy the channel. Thank you very much. I enjoy that comment. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoy. I enjoy your comment, and I'm glad you enjoy the channel. Snake says, on the road, yes. Snake says, why get tested when you can walk outside? Well, you're right. But you know what? It's good to just get tested every time you come in contact with people, just to know. I've done now 2 tests, and I've done 2 PCR tests and 2 antibody tests. And so far, I've been negative for all of them. Although, as we've talked about, I am pretty sure that, and we're not going to get into the whole mask versus not mask thing. I'm going to talk about this in a second, actually, not about this. But I'm pretty sure I caught COVID at the CES show last year, but I'm not taking any chances with it. But here's the other thing is that, you know, related to this whole mask thing, I'm not talking about I'm not going to get into this whole back and forth. There's a reality to all this stuff. I used to work in the PPE industry, so I know how masks work. And if you got 2 people wearing a mask, it's better than not having a mask on. Period. End of story. It's the facts. It just is. And if you both have N95 masks on, you're even better, provided they are properly fit tested. And the reason why I have pimples all over my face is because I had properly fit tested my mask. But we used to, my family company used to import N95 masks. And we went through swine flu and SARS and all these crazy pandemics that happened before that, you know, didn't get out of control. And so we had that. And I anticipate, and I already had comments on my post on the other day about, why are you even traveling? It's so irresponsible. And look, it's you got to run a business, So we were very careful when we got out there. My brother's been isolated in Vermont in the middle of nowhere for at least 2 weeks before we came up to see him. But whenever we were inside, and I just want to say this now in case people watch and there's comments tonight. When we were inside, we kept 6 feet apart. And then when I was in between takes, or if we were getting closer, masked up, right? And you'll see it on the live stream that we did. We did a test live stream from Starlink. That's why I was in Vermont. We did a test live stream from the Starlink, and we had to go inside this garage and masked up, had the mask on. You can see it on there. So yeah, so I just don't want to get into the middle of the whole argument here with this stuff. I mean, it's just, there's no debate about it. It's just, it is what it is. I mean, this is what we're dealing with. And, if you, and the big concern, here's what I would say the issue really is right now. And I think to a large degree that the science community and the health community, I'm going to say this carefully, but I think the science community and the health community has not been very good communicating, in the sense that their concern is with infection and people getting sick, no question about it. But the broader concern is transmission. And I don't think they effectively packaged that message well enough, because ultimately the problem that we face right now, especially as now the vaccines are coming available, is that, and we've been very fortunate with this virus and how it's worked, is that transmission is the biggest threat. Because the more people who have it, even if they don't get sick, are having the virus replicate. And they go through generations like every, who knows how many minutes, right? So you see how long it took for humanity to evolve to what we are today. Viruses evolve much quicker because, of the fact that they are constantly reproducing. And so what's happening right now is that as more and more people get infected, evolutionary pressure starts doing its thing. So the big problem we have right now is that, and you're seeing this now with all these different variants, is the part of the virus that had been the most stable, so stable in fact that all of our testing for antibodies and PCR and even the vaccines themselves were based off the spike protein, which is now changing in multiple continents because of evolutionary pressure. It spreads better with a different spike, a little change in the spike, right? So the issue really is that we're dealing with the transmission problem, because if it's in a lot of people, it's reproducing a lot and it's changing a lot. And if you have immunity from a past infection or a vaccine, the virus will be changing because not on purpose, it just changes just based on all the errors in reproduction until one starts to click. And what will happen, I think, for people that have had it or were immunized to some degree is they may get it again, but not as bad. Like it might just be completely asymptomatic and it'll keep going. So that's my 2 cents on this whole thing. So they should have been talking about why transmission is such a big problem, not what your personal experience might be. Because if I had it from CES, which I'm pretty sure I did, I was in rough shape, but it was like anything else I've caught, no big deal. But God forbid my mother came over, it would have been a very different experience for her, right? So I think it's complicated. In any event, sorry, I just had to get that off my chest because I was seeing some people like commenting on the fact that I went up there to do the Starlink thing, and we were careful. And I've been following the guidelines because I'm involved locally in making sure people follow the guidelines. So I'm being very careful about this stuff. All right, back to the topic at hand. Mark Smith got his first Pfizer shot. Awesome. Yeah, I think you're going to be the two that I like the most, and I've talked to our local health people here too. The 2 mRNA vaccines, I think, are so far the most effective on the strain that they were designed for, but also for some of the other strands. So that is, I think the mRNA is the future. And the reason is you can change the vaccine very quickly because they're quick. They have to make it at scale, which is the hard part. 300 million people, not easy. But you can change it very quickly versus some of the other ones. Mark Dell's parents got the vaccine last weekend. Yeah, my father got his first dose because he's in Florida where it's 65 plus. Connecticut right now is 75 plus. So that's what it is. But I think really what it comes down to with this stuff is that, you know, you can look at it two ways. You can look at it as a political argument, or you can look at it as the fact that I think everyone's trying to do their best. I don't think oh, I missed some super chats here. You know what happens, by the way, is that the super stickers come through, and I miss them on. Oh, there we go. Toys Are for Boys. Love my Vidiu-X video. First of all, thank you. I missed it. Yes, I did miss it. And he's going to try using it for live streaming fireworks shows from a drone camera. Awesome. Yes. Be careful with the fireworks at night with the drone. Yeah, you can do a lot of cool stuff with that. But I think what it is, everyone's trying to do their best, and people are going to make mistakes communicating. They're not always trained communicators. I think there's a tension between, you've got scientific decisions to make and you've got political decisions to make, and sometimes those things collide, right? So I'm of the opinion, and I'm going to get off this topic in a minute, but I'm of the opinion here in Connecticut that I think teachers should be next in line along with other essential workers. Because if you want to keep your grocery stores open and you want to keep your schools open, why not vaccinate them? Get it done. But, they don't want to do that. So that's where it's at. Scientifically, it makes more sense to vaccinate 65 plus as soon as possible. Don't disagree. Definitely a good plan. But I think teachers and essential workers should be part of that too. Okay, back to more fun stuff. Did I load up on maple syrup out there? Yes, I sure did. My brother gave. I only took one. I don't like to take too much from my brother. I want him. He's building his business. I want to make sure that I can support him. And I know a couple people have already ordered maple syrup from him. So check it out tonight. You will see. You will see that. And Mark Dell, thank you for keeping the chat informed as to what we were talking about here. Yeah, I'm way behind on my super chat as we're going here. And here's what I need help with, everybody, because the other thing that we discovered with Starlink is that it doesn't work like a normal internet service works. So the challenge with it is that you can't poke a hole in the router and just connect in through it. So I need to set up, I wanted to send a little mini PC, I got a million of them here, mini PC up to my brother's place and just have it on his network and have it automatically connect into my VPN here, so that when we've got questions about can X, Y, or Z work on Starlink, I can log into his computer and run tests on it and stuff. Because he just got, after I left, he put the dish up on the roof. And so now the dish is up on the roof and it's working great. He is beyond happy right now because he's got this thing totally dialed in. He's got the best connection he's ever had there. And what was amazing, you'll see it tonight on the video, the second I got it hooked up, everything just started working. I kid you not, we plugged it in and it sat there for a minute. The dish moved up and down, and then my phone just started getting all these notifications and all this stuff that it was missing because there was no signal of any kind in his yard. So it's pretty cool. It's really, really cool. Mark Dell says, is there an API on the super chats? There is, yes. So my Vidiu-X, the Vidiu-X social thing that I'm using here, I'm just trying to see where, there it is. So here's the super chat that came through. And it works for the these super chats, like the ones where somebody leaves a thing here. What doesn't work are the super stickers. So I have to go back and check on the viewer activity here for the super stickers. So I keep an eye on that viewer activity. But yeah, you got me going on a tangent here. Because you know what happened today? It's just that I don't like trolling on my channel. I'm actually very mindful of tending the garden, if you will, because I don't mind people criticizing or saying I should have done something differently. But it's just like the righteous indignation kind of stuff just really gets to me. So, we had somebody pop in, and then immediately after the comment was posted, there's 3 likes on it. I knew it was kind of like an effort to get people stirred up. And this one was not about wearing a mask. It was the fact that I shouldn't have gone. That was kind of the whole thing there. and it just felt organized to me. So, but I wanted people to know, that we were really careful when we were up there. So it was not like just, hey, hanging out with my brother. We were really being careful up there. But I will get tested anyhow, just to make sure nothing happened. Because you know what? Even with all this stuff on, you could still get it. And so my daughter goes to school, so if it's responsible to go get tested just in case. Like I said, I think I already had it. So so my daughter's teacher had it, and she didn't get it, surprisingly so, because they were in close contact. So it was good. All right, let me go back up to the top of the list here. They're coming in fast and furious here, which is great. Adam Ponder says Starlink is going to be a complete game changer. Now you'll see it tonight on the stream, on the video that's going up tonight. It is so amazing. I can't tell you how good it is. It's really good. The one thing you'll see is that the latency is very good. But the one thing you're going to see is the latency is like all over the place. And we did a couple of I did a couple of things looking at latency. So I did I think we have a screenshot of the Starlink control panel thing. And then I did a ping out to Google. We did a ping with the speedtest.net app. And then I loaded up that shadow game streaming thing. We didn't stream a game because I was more curious to see the analytics on it. And the variation in the latency is significant. And it's not getting, I think the highest I saw was like 75 or 80, and that was rare. It was generally in the 40s or below. So it was really good. Yeah, Mark's one of our moderators here, and yeah, I think it's fine. I mean, what I want to be careful about is, and there's a fine line, I think, between trolling and leaving constructive feedback, because honestly, constructive feedback is really helpful. So let's say this. Let's say I'm reviewing this thing and I miss something out of completely. Then say, hey, Lon, you should take a look at whatever because you didn't cover that in the video. Versus, you're an a-hole who doesn't know anything. Why didn't you know that? You know what I mean? Like there's a difference there. And I have found too that sometimes people pop in and they just want to cause trouble. They want you to get angry about something. Spread that divisiveness. And look, I'm in favor of debate. I think it's important to have debates, but I think the key to anything, whether it's negotiations, debates, or anything else, is that you have an underlying respect for your counterpart, not your opponent, your counterpart, in that discussion. Because what I found, being a local elected official for the last, and I'm a school board member, I'm not like a senator or something, but what I have found is that when you keep an open mind and be willing to listen to other people, you may not agree with them, you may decide not to do what they want you to do, but sometimes there might be a piece of what they're suggesting that makes a lot of sense. No big deal, right? Put a mask on, who cares? Not a big deal. You'll live. You get pimples on your face like I did yesterday, but that's it. So that's my take on that. But like I said, I think it's, yeah. Chat is pretty chill here. We're actually pretty fortunate here. We've got a good community. It's funny, my friend of mine who came with me to CES a couple of times had said, your community is so nice. And again, I think it comes down to, hey, Art Green is here. Hey, Art. We should get my friend Art to show us his, he does the Stormtrooper stuff. What is it, the 50 something or other. He does those, Stormtrooper things. He's got an awesome costume. He does parades and everything else. And he watches my daughters when we're not in a pandemic. And he's funny. He's a big guy. He's a big guy. And he's got tattoos and stuff. And then my little 4-year-old just bosses him around. It's so funny. Because he has a soft spot for the little ones. So, and Mark Smith says the school boards are having a tough, yeah, it's been a tough year for everybody. And again, I think if you look at it this way, like everyone's trying to do the best they can, people are stressed, they're at the breaking point. It's hard. Because if you could see it floating around in the air, you'd have a very different perspective on it, So, it's just really, that's right. Art's my bodyguard. He's in the 501st Heavy Weapons Trooper Yeah, so he does some cool stuff. He does, I think he goes, if I'm not mistaken, Art, you go to like children's hospitals and stuff too for the kids, so it's neat. Yeah, he's got an awesome costume. Little vMix comment. We're just mixing a whole bunch of stuff up today because you know what, my work is done. Actually, what I'm doing here is so back when I was in college, I was on the campus news channel. I have my footage. I have to find it for you all. I was the weatherman. I wonder if I have it like on the hard drive here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And it was there that we learned. And by the way, I'm missing all of this Facebook stuff. So yeah, we're just doing the Facebook group today just to make sure this is able to maintain a stream over a long duration. I like to go for like maybe not quite an hour, but close to an hour just to make sure it all works. But we used to have a 30-minute live show that we would do on campus, and I was the weatherman. You're at 57 minutes now, good. And so we used to do Happy Talk, and then the floor director would, because we had to hit the 30-minute mark, this was like learning how to do a real news show. Now it's like, okay, the stream's done, we'll see you later, right? But back then it was like, got to hit the mark. So we would have this thing where we would, the floor director would be like this, and we'd have to keep blabbering away. And I'm good at just blabbering away forever, so that's what we ended up doing. Let me pull up, I see if I can find it real quick. I know I have it on my NAS somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, so it was a busy weekend. So I spent Saturday in Vermont, and we took a little plane up there, so it was a quicker ride. And we did the Starlink installation, and it was great to see my brother. And let's see if I can find it, because I have like this footage of me out in a snowstorm. I was like I gotta find it now. It's gonna drive me crazy. Let's see, channel 2, it was like channel 2 something or other. Yeah, let me check, let me do a quick search here. Yeah, so we were channel 2 news on the cable system. I don't think it's finding it. Let me see if I can. I will find it and I'll put it up on one of our weekly wrap-up things because it was a lot of fun. And then we had a friend of so it was a news show most of the time, except we had one guy who was kind of a funny guy. He's probably watching because I talk to him still every once in a while. And he had an idea to do his own late night show. So we put together this late night show called The Big Show. So Keith was the host, and we had all these bits that we were doing. None of us were comedians, though. So I played Santa Claus. So there is footage of Santa Claus. And I think Santa talked about some issues that he was having with Rudolph and some crazy stuff. It was funny. Somebody said I was funny, but I don't think I was. Mark Smith was wondering, which airport do we fly out of? So we actually, there's a small airport right not too far up the road from me called Chester Airport. It's a pretty short runway, so it's mostly Cessnas and smaller aircraft. And one of the things that I was thinking about doing was taking some flying lessons, because we've got all this cool stuff nearby, and it'd be a lot quicker to get there in a plane. And the worst part is I know people that have planes, which is how I get to go places sometimes. And yeah, it's like, it's gonna be kind of fun, So we'll see. It might be a fun little side channel because I've been watching all this, and the worst part is I've been watching all this aviation stuff on YouTube. So there's a couple of channels that I like. I watch. Art says that he is my personal stormtrooper. He is. I'm secretly a member of the Sith, so I have stormtroopers. But yeah, it's a beautiful little airport. It's owned by Wayland Engineering, who makes light bars for stuff. But it's there's something about that ability. And I was looking at the cost of the cost of the airplanes are expensive. You can buy an older plane, like a little single engine Cessna or something. I think what I'd like to do is eventually. So I have access to, I know people that have these planes, so I could, and one of them's an instructor, so I could learn to do twin engine certification and stuff. And what a lot of people do is they they put together a group, so they go in on ownership together. And that might be the way I would do it. That's exactly what Mark Smith says, like flying clubs might be the way to go. Yeah, where you kind of all pitch in. And planes are really expensive because, I don't have a boat. I will never get a boat. My father has a boat, and my father loves the boat, but that's all he complains about is how much his boat is costing him. So I'm never getting a boat. But the problem, the expense with airplanes is that every component is regulated by the Federal Aviation Administration, like everything. So, and you. So you have to get all of your training and your physicals, and you got to stay current. So you really have to fly a lot, to stay current. And so that's a big consideration. And then the plane itself, the engine has to get serviced every so many hours. The airframe has certain hours to it. If you have an aircraft, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think if you have a pressurized cabin, there's a finite lifespan to that plane. I'm not getting a jet, but if you get into the jets, like you've got to deal with the engines, you have to completely tear them down and rebuild them every so often. And then again, the airframe on the plane itself, there's a lot going on. And what I've been hearing from a lot of people is that renting is often the best way to go on the plane because it does put that expense on someone else. You pay your share of the time in the air for the maintenance of the flight. So you pay for the gas, and then you're paying your portion of what the maintenance on that plane will be, amortized by the number of hours in which you were in the air, right? So you have that whole factor there. Mark Dell says, have I thought about Flight Simulator? Oh yeah, I've been playing a lot. That's the other problem. I've been playing too much Flight Simulator lately. And I got now the VR thing going with it. And you know what's crazy? Because when you get to go on these little planes, you can sit up front, It's amazing in VR how real it feels, like from a depth perspective thing. And one of the guy that flew us this week, he's an instructor, and so he's often giving me things to look at. And one of the key things is when you're first learning to fly with visual flight rules is to know just by looking out the window, where you are in respect to the horizon. Are you level? Are you up or down? And that's something that's really hard to get a feel for in Flight Simulator on a screen because you're looking at a screen, right? And you have to position yourself on the flight sim on the VR. You could really get a better sense of that because it's 3D. You can really, I think, get a better feel for the horizon. So, Art says he's not getting in a plane with me. What if I could take you someplace cool, Art? I could take you to lunch in Nantucket. Wouldn't that be fun? Greg M says, the saying about boats, the happiest days in a sailor's life are the days he buys his boat and the day he sells it. I would agree with you on that, for sure. All right, well, I will say that this thing's working. We've been nonstop now for an hour. We pulled the plug on the Wi-Fi. It was able to maintain the connection. I'm going to go back and watch the stream later and see what happened when I pulled the plug. But it's so far been working pretty good. It's working pretty good. Mark Smith says the real flight simulators bump you around. Yeah, that's the one difference is that you get that feel for how it feels when you're in the plane. 'Cause that's a big part of flight is, they say fly by the seat of your pants, but like that there's when you're getting bumped around or you're landing on a crosswind thing, you can feel the air impacting or affecting the flight of the aircraft. So for example, we were coming into the airport in Vermont. The wind comes over the mountains and then comes back down, so you're getting buffeted a lot. So we had a bunch of we hit a couple of air pockets where you just kind of drop a little bit, and you can feel that. Can't feel that on Flight Sim, right? Yeah, have Art shake the chair for me, so that could work. Back to the topic at hand. So could you use multiple cellular hotspots? So the answer is sorta on this. So for example, right now, this only has one USB port. But what you could do with this is you can plug in, like we've got right now, we've got one of the modems plugged into the side there on the right, into the USB port. And what you could do is connect the Wi-Fi to one of those mobile hotspots that has Wi-Fi. So what I did earlier, and I'm not doing it now just because I'm using the phone to monitor the Amazon chat, but I did bring my phone upstairs where I get a better signal, and I connected the Wi-Fi of the Vidiu to the phone, and then it was splitting it up that way. So you could have a hotspot on Wi-Fi, a hotspot on USB, and then an Ethernet in, and that would work with this. Absolutely. But it's good. I mean, I think the fact that, I mean, there was no warning. I pulled the cable out, and it kept the stream active. That's good. And I'm just eager to see if there was any issues with the quality when I did that. That was a very nice comment there from Roman. He said he'd rather fly with me than with American Airlines. Well, the good news is I won't haul you out of the plane for, right? Remember that poor guy that they beat up? Was that, I can't remember what airline it was, but Mark Dell's been flying flight simulators for, yeah. So I think keeping the plane in the air, once you have enough airspeed, it's no problem. It's the landing that's tricky. And I was talking to my pilot friend yesterday because the, you know, the big issue that I've got is I've got rudder pedals and a yoke, but I think I have decent rudder pedals. I bought them used on eBay, but they're the ones that everybody said were good. The problem is because I flew a Cessna on a Discovery flight like 20-something years ago when I was in college, so I just don't remember what it felt like. What I don't know is how the calibration of my rudder pedals to how the Cessna's rudder pedals actually feel. And I think my rudder pedals are overly sensitive right now because I just tap them and the plane is like, you know, so that's important to get right, I think, before you jump in the cockpit. Mark Smith said, TWA flew me to the wrong airport. Yeah, that's probably why there's no TWA anymore. That's happened. It sure has. And it's confusing because sometimes when you're up there, you see runways all over the place, right? But now, like the avionics, even on the little planes now, are so good. Like Garmin's got this this new, newer thing, and so when you dial in the airport you're going to, it actually like highlights it in the little heads-up display, so you know exactly where it's supposed to be. It's really cool. On the screen, it's neat. Mark Dell said one of the first games he ever played was Kennedy Approach on the Commodore 64. Very cool. Very, very cool. Let me check the Facebook chat here. I'm missing stuff. Let's take a look here. I'm just trying to make sure that this thing it's been pretty steady throughout here. I'm pretty happy with it. It's going pretty nicely. And yeah, the YouTube stream is good too. So we're about an hour in, and it's kept itself up here pretty good. All right. Good stuff. Yeah, so this is exactly, I think, the problem is that Nigel says that the real airplane's rudder pedals are much stiffer. And stiffness depends on airspeed. So maybe I got to find a set that have like some kind of haptic or whatever kind of feedback to give me that feel. Yeah, especially in a Cessna where you're not using hydraulics, right? And I think even like the Cessna Citations, the jets don't use hydraulics on some of the flight surfaces. So Dom's first flight simulator was Microsoft Flight Simulator 1.0. I played my understanding is, what was the name of the company? Not Case Logic. So I flew a flight simulator on the Apple II. It was called Flight Simulator 2 from SubLogic. That was the one that I had. It runs at like 2 frames per second. It is so slow, but it's pretty cool. And let me just check on a couple other things here. Yeah, so it looks like the Facebook video has been good too. I should just broadcast this because I have like one more slot on Vidiu-X that I can send video to. I should just do the Facebook group because we've got like so many people on there. And I guess the question is, can Vidiu-X Social link up Let me see if I can link up with that. Let me log into Facebook here. Bear with me for a second here. I'm going to see if I can get this Vidiu-X social thing to work with Facebook, because that would be kind of cool if I could do that. And of course, I don't have my... Yeah, I'll play with that in a little bit. Oh, it's only on the Facebook page, not the group. Okay, so that doesn't work. Okay. I'll have to play around with that. But yeah, I think it's been pretty good here. And then I can go back and check the stats here and see how that's going. So you can see that it's still splitting the load up here. And again, we're on two different internet connections here. So I've got my main fiber connection here and the secondary fiber connection here. And check it out. So let me record this. This is kind of interesting. So when that USB modem gets a little bit of a bandwidth boost, like sometimes there's a, so watch, you'll see these two numbers jump up. So as the USB modem's health improves, it balances it better. So you'll see that number drop again. And it looks like in total, I guess the bit rate's variable just because we're moving around and stuff, but you'll see how it kind of balances the load out. And like I said, I can unplug any one of these things and it'll keep going. I wonder if I could remotely disable the other thing. Let's try that real quick and see. So let's go over to, so let me kill the cellular connection and see if that does anything. So we've got wired Wi-Fi and modem. So can I kill it? So I guess the only way to kill it is to unplug it, right? There's no, I can't just like turn it off. Yes, looks like you got to physically do that. Pretty cool. And what's this one? Let's see what that button does. Detailed status. Oh, is this what I was looking for? No, it's just a video bit rate. Okay, so this is like your overall bit rate. And this shows you what it's getting and encoding. Because I'm just sending up I have that NDI box upstairs. So I've got this cool box. It's called the Bird Dog Mini. And I will highlight it right now on Amazon. And again, everything in video production is super expensive, but I bought this a while back. Let me pull it up on screen here for you, because right now it's currently encoding. Actually, I can show you what it looks like, because another little doohickey I got into review recently is this PTZ camera. Check it out here. Ready? You watching? I can control the camera. So that's the Bird Dog Mini right here. I got to put some lights on this, I think. I can focus. So right now I have everything manually controlled here. So I'm a little too close to it. So this is the Bird Dog Mini. I'm going to zoom out a little bit more. I'll turn the autofocus back on. Let's see if I can get it. There we go. Whoops. The autofocus I'm still figuring out on this thing. And it's hard because the stuff behind it is lighter. So it's having a hard time zooming in on it. Let's see if I can get it a little bit closer here and get it to focus. There we go, almost. I always have to go back upstairs and manually move it around. But basically what this is, here, let me zoom back out. It's a box, and you plug HDMI in, and then what it can do is it can push video out over NDI from an HDMI source. But what's neat about this box, because there's a lot of these, you know, like there's a bunch of these on the market, right? No big deal. But what's cool about this one is that in addition to sending video out from an HDMI source, you can send NDI video into it, and then you can broadcast it out. You can then take that video and do what we're doing right now, which is plugging it in to the Vidiu. So this thing right now is taking video over the network from down here. This is upstairs in my secondary office, and it's plugged into that. So basically the video comes into here. Let me switch over here so you can see it. So the video comes into here, and then so it comes in over the network. So it's going into this box, out via HDMI, into the Vidiu, and then it's going out to the Vidiu service from there. And I need to work on my focus here. There we go. But it can also go in the other direction. So it is an encoder and a decoder of NDI video. and that's the Bird Dog Mini. And I've been using this for a long time, and I love it. I really, really love it. And it doesn't do 4K, it's just 1080p, but that's all I really do. So if I have a camera somewhere around the house, I can plug it in and get video out from it, or what we're doing now, again, outputting NDI video. So you can use it as a way to get NDI video out to whatever you're doing. And so I don't think they have a lot of features of it. I did review it right here. And I think this thing is awesome. It's really, really useful. Because I'm out of PCI slots in my computer, so I can't add any more HDMI outputs. So I can use the Bird Dog, and now I can just run NDI video to it, and off it goes. It's great. All right, and yeah, we got in a Bird Dog. Well, I got a great question I'll answer after this one. Yeah, Bird Dog sent me a P100 to look at, and that camera is also NDI. So the camera that we have upstairs moving around is plugged in with just an Ethernet cable, and I can control it and get its video over that Ethernet cable, and it's PoE, so it's powered over Ethernet. By the way, the Bird Dog box also power over Ethernet, so there's no power plug beyond the Ethernet cable here. It just goes right in. It's great. It is a really useful device, because today I was thinking, like, all right, here's my problem for this. Because what we're doing today is we're setting stuff up for a review that I'm doing tomorrow, which is reviewing the Teradek box. But I'm thinking about this, like, okay, I've got to get HDMI video into this thing, and I want to have enough motion that makes sense. So I was thinking I could hook up a camera to it, but then I'm not going to be up there, so it's just going to be nothing, just like a still image. So ideally, I was thinking I'd love to get this feed upstairs, and I said, oh, I forgot the Bird Dog can do that. So the feed goes into the Bird Dog over NDI and out over HDMI, and it's just 1080p video, like anything else. It's good stuff. And this is a great question from Bert. He's wondering, is there a specific reason why I didn't use OBS? And there are a couple of reasons for that. The first is that I've used OBS, and I recommend it to people, especially people that are starting out that are short on funds, right? Because it makes a lot of sense. And what I like about OBS is that it's pretty powerful for what it is. I've had some frustrations with it because sometimes stuff like would be working and then would stop working. There's no tech support. It's free, which is great, but there's no support behind it that you can get to quickly. So for many years I was using a TriCaster because that was what was really working well for me. It was hardware and software by the same company, and there was always support if something went wrong. And for me, every minute that I'm down is a minute I'm losing money, right? So I didn't want to have that issue there. The other thing is that the way, and I might be wrong in how I'm dealing with it, but the way OBS handles audio is really weird. So for example, when I'm doing my shoots here and I switch to this camera, my audio from this camera is still coming over, right? In OBS, I'd have to put my camera feed behind this one to get its audio when I switch back and forth. Like just little things like that. I had some issues with the NDI plugin not always working. Like there's just a bunch of little things that bugged me. So I was like, I could go there, but I tried Vidiu-X out. And the other thing is, like, I have a couple of friends that do live streaming for a living, and everyone's like, I mean, everybody said to me, because I was talking about my TriCaster was getting old, I got to get something new. Everyone, to a person, you got to do Vidiu-X, you got to do Vidiu-X, you got to do Vidiu-X. So I downloaded Vidiu-X, and I just didn't get it initially, and I didn't have time to really play with it. So I kind of put it back on the shelf, and then the TriCaster had some issues, and I was like, oh, I gotta get going on this. So I downloaded it again. I watched all of their tutorial videos. And once you get the concept as to how Vidiu-X works, it just like clicks. And I'm like, ooh. And then when I realized, there's no training wheels on it. So you can do as much as your hardware will allow you to do and beyond. In other words, if you hit the limit of your hardware, you're gonna find out the hard way. But when I started playing with it, I had a gaming laptop. I talked about this in the video we did last week. I was like, wow, this is just working so well. And I'm barely like scratching the surface. Like I was like running 8 sources in over, 4 over NDI, 3 coming in over USB, like all this crazy stuff. And I was maybe like 25, 30% of the total system resources. And that includes streaming out simultaneously and record. It was just doing everything. So I was like, I'm sold on this. And I saved, I kid you not, I saved between buying a new TriCaster and going to Vidiu-X, thousands of dollars. I mean, $4,000 or $5,000 difference. I built the computer, the one I'm using for the broadcasting here. I built this computer. Right now, I don't have a lot of stuff going into it. I've got this camera and all the NDI stuff going on, the computer and the overlays. I'm at 9% of the overall resources, if that, 6% now. So it's been, I am so happy with it. And it works, and it's so stable. It's software, but it's like, honestly, it's just, I can't believe how stable it is. So it's been working really well. And I apologize, Red Hornet, for making you buy stuff. Well, the good thing is that at least the stuff that I try to recommend to people is usually good stuff, right? Because and like I haven't touched that bird dog box in months because I hadn't needed it for something, but it's there. And I was like, oh, that's right, it does do that. And boop, 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 and boom. And it's just, the NDI is like magic to me. Even in my house, like I'm just in my house. So you can imagine like if you were on a college campus where you have a huge network and any spot can get HD video delivered in a pristine fashion into your production workflow. It's amazing. I want to thank a couple new followers on Amazon, by the way, Amazon customer and Jenna Semilak. Welcome. Thank you for following me. And by the way, if Mark Dell, if you don't mind putting the link in the chat again, if you want to follow me on Amazon, I'd appreciate it. We're trying to build up my following base there. Nunez likes the face scruff. Yeah, I've been scruffy. I'm going to shave tomorrow. And so on Gallagher, thank you for the follow. Appreciate that on Amazon. Yeah, we're trying to get up to 2,000 followers on Amazon. It's my mission for this month. And Mark says, it looks like I could grow it. I don't think I could do a mustache or a beard because I don't grow in evenly. So maybe I could do like a goatee or something. But my wife doesn't like any facial hair. Good question from Michael Corcoran here about the FCC and data caps. I don't know if they're going to go after data caps. Because what's interesting is that if you read through, like even going back to the Obama administration, there was things, they were heavy on the regulation related to neutrality, but they were leaving carve-outs. And the big one was the data caps on the mobile phone providers, because they felt, this is the Obama FCC, they felt that there was opportunity within the data cap realm for there to be things that could be beneficial to consumers. Don't judge me on this, I'm just telling you what they were thinking. I did a video on this about the things that they thought were acceptable and not acceptable as it relates to data caps. And I would check out that video that I did. I can't remember exactly, like they drew a line, and I think the line they drew, this was the line they drew. They said there could be benefits to consumers with data caps. However, let's say that Comcast, as an example, let's say that Comcast decided to provide you all of the video content that they made in a way that wouldn't count against your cap. That would be a no-no with the Obama FCC. But it would be okay if Comcast said to Netflix that we'll let you pay to not be capped. I'm not cool with that, but that's what they were suggesting. Thank you for the follow, John, on Amazon. Appreciate it. So yeah, I don't think they're going to go there on data caps. I think the best solution is going to be competition. And I'll tell you what, you'll see this tonight. So tune in tonight, 6:45 p.m. It's ready to go. And I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of questions about what to do with in the future stuff on this. But tune in tonight because we have a whole thing on Starlink, and it's the real deal. I mean, we've seen Starlink in action on other YouTube videos. We talked to somebody over Starlink with a video chat. It was amazing. It all worked. But I'll tell you what, like, I'm sold. It's a real alternative. Not necessarily in the cities and stuff, but I think if you're in the suburbs or in rural places, I mean, you know, Elon Musk, you know, love him or hate him, he's on, he's right on this stuff more often than not, as far as products that can sell or whatever. I happen to like the guy. I think he's quirky, but you know, he's smart. His thing was point the dish at the sky and plug it in. That's all you need to do, right? I said, there's no way. Kid you not. We pointed the dish at the sky, plugged it in, and it just started working. You'll see it on the video. It's amazing. So there you go. Mark Smith likes StreamYard. Yeah, StreamYard, I know a lot of people using StreamYard. They like it quite a bit. They do. What I like is that, you know, vMix is a complex application. So I like the complexity because I'm always doing something different. So I really do like that quite a bit. Mark Dell never uses OBS for audio. Oh, interesting. Yeah, so there's different ways to bring it in, I guess. You could do that. Red Hornet's got some good, kind words about that, about vMix. Space TV wants to know, do I go to launches? Yes, as a matter of fact, I do go to launches. I've been to, how many have I been to? 1, 2, 3. I've been to 5 launches. I was at the last 3 space shuttle launches. And if you go to Lon.TV/NASA, I think I put all that stuff in there. So I was at the last 3 space shuttle launches. I was at the last space shuttle landing. I went inside Space Shuttle Discovery and did a video inside of the space shuttle. That was awesome. Oh my gosh. Talk about like being a kid of the 80s, like to be able to do that. Amazon customer, thank you for the follow on Amazon. Much appreciated. That was an amazing experience going inside the space shuttle. Holy mackerel, that was amazing. Yeah, no, I do that. I'm probably going to get down to some in the future. What I would love to do, just because like this Starlink thing has been a big topic on the channel, I'd love to get down to a Starlink launch at some point. And they're launching them like every 2 weeks, so those are easy to get to. We did a Falcon Heavy launch. So I did the last 3 shuttle launches. We went to a SpaceX mission for the Discover, the DSCVR mission. It was a NASA mission. And we happened to be doing a family trip to my dad has a place in Florida, so we were spending a week in, actually around this time of the year, a couple of years back. My daughters were, yeah, I think about 4 or 5 years ago now. It's on the channel, you can check it out. But we went down there to Florida for a little family trip, and there happened to be a launch going, so I got press credentials. And then like they kept canceling the launch. So I was driving from Palm Beach to the Space Coast and back, so it's about a 3.5 hour drive. And like the entire week, my wife was going to kill me because I would go up and you get out to the launch site, they'd scrub the mission for some reason, weather, all sorts of other stuff. Drive back down, drove back up, got to the launch site, scrubbed again, get back in the car, drive back down. So I think it was like the 3rd or the 4th trip up was when it finally launched, and so I got to see that one. That was cool. That was a Falcon 9. And this was actually before they were landing them. They were going to try to land that one, the one that I saw. It was one of the first that had the landing legs on it, and they ended up not landing it because of weather, but they launched it, you know, into space anyhow. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. I mean, really cool. So I saw that one, and then we saw the Falcon Heavy, and you can check that video out. We did that one about 2 years ago. And that was another one that kept getting scrubbed. And so this was funny. So I went down with my friend Antonio. He's been a good friend of mine for many, many years. He and I went to the same college. And it's funny, we didn't go to college at the same time, but we were involved in the same student activities, and we met through one of my alumni visits to the student government thing that we were both involved in. So in any event, Antonio is like, he's just like me. He's like two of us are big kids, you know. So we went down to see the Falcon Heavy launch, and we're down there, and of course it gets scrubbed. So day 2, so they pushed the launch back a day, and then they scrubbed the day that they were going to launch, and they went to another day. So Antonio, like, what are we going to do? We're down in like we got nothing to do. So we went to Disney World for the day. My wife was going to kill me. She's like, you could have brought us down. I'm like, I know. I didn't know it was not going to go off, you know. So we went and spent the day at Epcot, the 2 of us. And there's pictures on my Facebook about that. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, so that's good stuff. Here's a good question, because I don't know how to do this. I would love to set up a Roku channel. What I really want to do, because now here's the other thing that my internet connection allows for me to have, is a lot of these, the Roku channels and a lot of these other over-the-top services, I really wanted to start sending my content into a lot of these different places, but they all want like an MRSS feed. And for me to host all of this video to submit to these folks was going to cost a fortune, and they only take it like once, right? So they read your feed, they download the video, and then I'd have to go in and delete it or whatever. So I was going to do all of it on AWS, but again, it's just so expensive to host that much video. But now I have a second leg, a gigabit leg, that I could send those videos out to. So I'm looking to do that kind of stuff. So Red Hornet, if you happen to know any good resources for Roku channels, send me an email at Lon.TV, because I'd like to start looking into that, because I have the ability now to send stuff out. So that's it. And yeah, Red Hornet reminds us that Elon Musk started PayPal. Yeah, look, I think his success is there's a couple of factors to it. There's always the risk-taking stuff, right? But what I've found, especially in covering SpaceX, because he finds the right people, and he puts together good, competent teams. And I think I mean, look at Steve, like any of these people that were successful, like really successful with this stuff, put together good teams. And the other thing too is that if you hit the jackpot a couple times, or you hit it once and you have the money, you can hire the right teams. And that's really, I think a lot of this stuff, we tend to put people on high pedestals. The reality is it doesn't get any easier from your personal experience level. Like, it's still miserable to be in his position sometimes, like when he was trying to get Tesla to start producing the cars at the right level and he was sleeping in the floor of the factory, all that kind of stuff. I mean, that's real. I don't discount or deny or think that none of that happened. But when you've built up the base of capital that you can either raise or put up your own money to do it, when you have the money, it makes a very big difference. Like, if I wanted to start a car company tomorrow, no chance in heck I could do that. But if I had a couple $1 billion, I'd have a better shot. So, and look, he earned every dime he made, don't get me wrong. But I think, he's been able to put good teams together. And I think that's where the talent really is. Because a lot of people dismiss him as some big rich guy. Even Jeff Bezos, too. I mean, Jeff Bezos is building his own space company. He's a very wealthy man. He's been very successful, obviously. And it takes talent to find talent and get good talent to work well. And that's not easy. And so, I think that's a big part of it. But I think it's rare that you'll get to where Musk or Bezos or anyone else is, right? So the way I look at it is put the time in. And I do think that not enough people do what they love. You know what I mean? Like, I decided when this thing started working out, I was like, you know what? I could afford to do this. So I did it. And I took a pay cut, big one. But it worked out. And it's fun. And you know what? God forbid it stops tomorrow. I think I have marketable skills. I'm completely unemployable now. But if I had to, I could do computer stuff or something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not worried about it. And I think, and I've got a lot of friends that are so talented that I'm like, just take the step. Take the step. Take the evening. Start there. Don't give up your job just yet. But, do it. It's amazing. There's never been a time where we've got the ability you can reach so many people, which you couldn't do before. So, and I think, Musk is on top of all that. He was early, right? And it compounds. But I think everyone's got a shot of getting to the point where you can make the money too to do what they're doing. Is Starlink mobile? So right now it is not. And it's interesting the way it works. Let me see if I got to go in a minute because my kids are upstairs looking for me. Let me find this image. I got to see if I can find the... They had a video where they talked about, yes, this is the image here. It's a really fascinating thing. You have to go on the Starlink subreddit and you'll find out more about this. But this is how it works right now, is that there's these hexagons on the ground, essentially, based on how the satellites, how the signals can overlap. And so availability is highly localized at the moment, even if you're in the right latitude. And so you've got to be within this area. So right now, you cannot take Starlink with you to like your vacation home and have it work. It will be that way eventually. But right now, it's kind of tied to where you are. And I think that restriction is more about this hexagonal coverage thing than it is about actually moving the dish. And some of the people on YouTube who have Starlink have been playing around with that. Can you move the dish someplace else? My plan for Starlink here is to use it as a backup. So, because we get these storms now where these trees fall down and take the power lines out for 2 weeks. And of course, my fiber optic is on the same, the same pole. So the good thing is that I have a backup generator here, and I'm going right into the head end now. So even if my neighborhood is out of power and all the Comcast coax is down, I still have fiber going out. But I'm going to buy a dish and not use the service initially, just have the dish, so that if we did lose it. But then you think about it for like the exercise that we're doing now with this thing. I'll pull it back up here for you. The exercise that we're doing right now with this thing, we can essentially plug this into that and then have a cell phone as a backup, right? So I tried to do that when I was at my brother's place on Saturday, but nothing else worked. All I had was Starlink, so I just connected directly via Starlink. So it's pretty cool. Back to the space launches. Mark Dell is asking about how does it feel? Yeah, so you do feel it. It depends on the launch. So Falcon Heavy, you're about 3 miles away if you're at the NASA press site. And you got to watch the video because the return trip of the boosters was pretty cool. And for Falcon Heavy, you're better off going to this. The NASA has one of those things, long bridge-like thing. I forgot what they call. I'm at the end of the day. NASA Causeway. If you go there, you can actually get a good view of the boosters coming back down to land. And what's neat about Falcon Heavy is that just like every other space launch, you can actually feel the. I liken it to like those very loud fireworks booms that you can kind of feel the concussion. It's like that, but it's constant. So, and the craziest thing is, and you can see this in the video that I shot, when it launches, when you're at the NASA press site 3 miles away, you see it. And it takes about 25 seconds or so before you actually start getting the sound. It's wild. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's amazing. And it's one of those things where you've got to experience it in person because as cool as it looks on TV, it's so different in person because the rocket is much brighter. You've got the whole sound effect thing. And to be honest with you, it's like, it's frightening. It's like really frightening because it feels like you're looking at this thing and it looks like it's going to explode. I mean, and it is. I mean, it's a controlled explosion out the back of it. And it is, especially the space shuttle because it had, the liquid hydrogen and oxygen fuel mixture. There was so much condensation, the smoke would condense. It would look like smoke, but it was actually the condensation of the hydrogen and oxygen mixing. And you would see it just smoking up, and the shuttle would rise out of the smoke essentially because they would hold the shuttle down for about 3 or 4 seconds after the engines lit. So the shuttle would light, and it would make sure the engines were functioning. It was almost like a run-up on an airplane, just make sure the engines are good. And so the shuttle would actually lean back because of the thrust of those engines, but it was bolted down by the rocket boosters. And then when it leaned back forward, it would hit T0. They'd explosively cut the bolts holding everything down, and then it would let go. I mean, the engineering, and the crazy thing was, I've got footage on the YouTube channel of this also. You drive up to the shuttle on the pad, and the shuttle's like the smallest spaceship like we've made. Like the Apollos are the Saturn V's are much bigger. It's a building. Like it looks like a building, and you see it on the pad. It looks like a building. It's like stories tall, right? Especially the shuttle. It's big wide thing, and then you go back to the pad after the launch, and it's gone. It's like it's mind-blowing. And what you get an appreciation for when you visit it is how much it takes to do this and how everything that you think is simple is a huge problem. Just getting when they did the shuttle, they had to put it on a track, this big thing, this big tank-looking thing, and they roll it out vertical. They're going to do that with the new the Artemis stuff. They roll it out vertical, and when we get to the pad, it has to go uphill. So they have to design this whole like leveling system. Unbelievable. So, in any event, that's that. Adam wants to know, will the current HD home runs work with ATSC 3.0? No, only the new one. The new 4K one is the only one that does that. So, but I don't think ATSC, whatever version it's on, 1.0, is going to go away anytime soon. So keep an eye on that. Wet Coaster, thank you for your follow on Amazon. Yeah, I got to look around. I got to play around with this Roku thing a little bit more, see if I can figure it out. Floatplane. I am on Floatplane. Yes, you can find me on Floatplane. I'm not sure if I missed something else there redacted, but yes, I'm still doing Floatplane. And actually, the video is on Floatplane for tonight already, so check it out. But yeah, Mark Dell, you got to check it out. Rocket launches are amazing, totally amazing. I think what's even more amazing is when there's people on the rocket. That is it's pretty wild, because it's really neat. And another thing I would suggest, if you really want to get into space, is to get the times in which you can see the space station coming overhead, and then know that there's people up there. You know, I think right now there's 8 people on the space station, and you can see this bright star-looking thing. It just goes right overhead, you know, constant speed, and there's 8 people on it. It's amazing. And there's been 8 people, well, right now there's more people on now than there's been in a while, because the SpaceX can launch 4 at a time. But you watch it go over, and we've had people in space now every day for the last 22 years, I think. That's an accomplishment. So it's pretty cool. All right, everybody. Well, I'm going to start like dismantling some of the streams here. So if you are watching on Facebook, I'm going to end the. So I'm going to go and let's see. I'll show you how this works here on the end part. So we're going to go here and end the extras channel from the video, because I'm streaming in 2 different directions here. That's why it's good to have all this bandwidth, because actually I could show you, I think. Let's see if I can pull it up real quick. Because I am sending upstream right now, according to my, yes, I'm pushing about 15 megabits per second upstream, because I'm sending a stream to Amazon, a stream to YouTube, and then the Vidiu is sending another 5 megabits up to where it's going also. So there's all this stuff going on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to end the extras channel 1. So I'm going to stop that one. And then I'm going to go over to my, this is just a private one that I want to use to have as a recording. I'm going to end the stream. And I'm not ending your stream yet. That will happen in a minute. So now you can see that it's ready, but it's not streaming. And then the Facebook group, let's see. The Facebook group, let's see, Anthony Del Farbo. You know, I don't get texts, Anthony, from people that I don't know. So if you want to, if you got a question, the best place to ask it is on the Facebook group, because if I'm able to, I can answer it, and then sometimes if a friend of mine or one of our fellow viewers is there, they can answer there as well. All right, so now I am going to, all right, so that one ended, and now let's go over to the Facebook Live producer here. Because I get, by the way, and I'm not trying to sound snobby here, please don't take this the wrong way. But I get so many requests for individual help with stuff that I just can't help people well enough. I mean, I purposely don't take a lot of those questions, because if I answer something half-assed, it's going to put somebody in the wrong direction, right? So what I really like to do, especially if you're on Facebook, and I will try to answer stuff and get things going on Facebook on the group if you ask there, because that way it's a great community on Facebook. Everyone's really helpful. And it's a great way, especially if I'm tied up, because like I just get so many requests, and it's just I know it's rude sometimes not to respond or whatever, or not see the, like in this case I didn't see the message, because like on Facebook I don't get messages from people that I don't have in my friend list. It's just the easiest to start there, and we can go from there. If it's something really complicated, it might be kind of fun. Okay, Mark Dell says, I'm cutting it down a stream at a time. Oh, here's a question from Michael Kiggs. I did investigate this about Speedify. I haven't used it, but I know people that do. It works really well. For my dual fiber thing here, not so good. I've heard that it doesn't work well with Gigabit Pro. But I have heard good things about it. I do want to try it eventually. So that might be another thing we could do. What I like about the Teradek solution is that I've played with it before. It's very well integrated. And like I said, you can just yank the cable out of your router and it's just going to keep going. It's really, really good. Okay, so now we've got that one done. I'm going to end the Facebook stream. So thank you all for tuning in. I'm going to end it. And then I'm going to go back to the Vidiu because it's still like transmitting the video in. Where did it go? Oh no, did I lose my? No, it's over here. Okay, so we're going to go. Oh, it ended on this end. Perfect. Okay, so now it's done. Now, it's interesting, though, is that it's still sending the video up to the Teradek server. And the reason it is because that box, the second you turn it on, it starts transmitting to Teradek. But it's not going out anywhere until you initiate one of your streams. Then you could add more channels if you wanted to. So I've got 2 more set up here. So I have my YouTube channel and Amazon set up here, too. It's cool. It gets really neat. You can just pop on and start sending stuff out. So the only way I think to turn it off is to actually go upstairs and turn it off. Let me try it over here. Because like right now it says go live, which I think would start everything up again. Yeah, so I'll have to go upstairs and figure that out. Okay, so there you go. Good stuff. All right, let me pull up my closing thing here. And then I've got like all this stuff now to turn off. Because I got things all over the place that are on in different parts of the house. End of stream. There we go. Okay. All right. I think we are in good shape. Okay, everybody. Let me go see if anybody else is left on Amazon here. I want to thank everyone who followed me on Amazon. What am I up to now on followers? I'm up to 1,892 followers. 1,898. So we're like 102 or so away from my goal. So pop in there. Follow me on Amazon if you haven't already. And yeah, we're going to close it out. And so look for tonight, everybody, at 6:45 p.m. We are going to have the Starlink video. And I know this is going to be one of those videos where it's going to be like, what about this? What about that? What about this? So ask the questions in the comments of that video. And I will do a follow-up because now that my brother has it working, I can call him and we can see what his experience is like. We can maybe walk him through doing some stuff. He's smarter on computers than he lets me believe. But we can walk him through testing out some other stuff that we didn't cover. And we'll figure it all out. Nigel Mack wants to know, how do we follow? Hello, Red Hornet. You're on Amazon too. Great. If you go on, here, I'll show you real quick. So my kids are going to start looking for me soon. And I'm getting hungry. It's not even close to dinner time, but I am like starving. Let me go click. Oops. Let me click over here. So if we go over to the Amazon page, so if you click on the Amazon link, and this is the tricky part. What you got to do is click over here where it says following. You got to kind of like mouse over the video, and then you click right here. And then what you can also do, I have like this other page. It's Lon.TV/Amazon shop. And if you go to that, there's a follow button. I'll show you what that looks like. So you could also go to Lon.TV/Amazon shop, and you can click on the following right here. And that will do a follow too. And then what's neat about this, and I missed one this week, but because I was up in Vermont, but every once in a while there are promotions going on that are just available to the live streaming audience. So if you're watching, there's a deal that's available only from the live stream. So if you follow me on Amazon, you get notified whenever I go up. So that's that. Mark Dell wants to know, are we doing tacos today? No, we had like, it was like taco week last week. I had tacos every night of the week because I had so many leftovers. But no, tonight we have, so this restaurant around the corner, I've gained 10 pounds because I've been just trying to support the local restaurants. The restaurant around the corner does these like pop in the oven pot pies. So we did a like a turkey pot pie last week. It was really good. This week they had like a short rib one that's equally good, and it kind of reminds me of like a little bit like a Guinness stew kind of thing, but not quite. Really good. So that's we got leftovers. So that's tonight. There you go. Mark wants to know, can you haggle me on Amazon for better prices? No. You can haggle on my store, where I sell the stuff directly, just my extra stuff, the leftover review items. So you can haggle me there. And Mark Smith has a great idea. I'm going to do a video about that, as a matter of fact. That's a good idea. I'm going to put that on the extras channel. All right, cool. All right, everybody, I got to run. But thank you all for tuning in. And I want to thank Toys Are for Boys for the super chat. Sorry, I missed that earlier. And I'll try to keep an eye on that. My VMix Social moves so quickly sometimes it's hard to keep up. But we'll do better on that. And we'll go from there. Yeah, by the way, it's only Amazon US that you can do the follow on. So I'm going to keep simulcasting to YouTube because I got the bandwidth. So no worries there. All right, everybody. I will catch you all on the next one. Thanks for tuning in and helping me test this out today. And I will be back soon. Bye-bye.